Let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders because this team is in a very interesting situation. I look at the quarterback position. Aiden O'Connell is not a horrible quarterback, but he may not be the long-term solution at that quarterback spot. Aiden O'Connell had a lot of good moments this season, just like how he had the 4 touchdowns against the Los Angeles Chargers, even though that was a terrible Chargers team, but he also had some good moments against the Indianapolis Colts and the Denver Broncos. Is that a guy that you want to bring back next season and just give him a full offseason with the first team and let him just go through his progressions and hopefully he can develop like a madman? I can see this team moving up in the NFL draft or getting a veteran in free agency. They have a veteran on the roster in Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's not a long-term solution at the quarterback position. Before they sat him down, he was leading the league in interceptions. He had 7 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a good quarterback in the NFL, and he's older and he is injury prone as well. This was a Josh McDaniels guy. Get him out of the door with the Las Vegas Raiders. And that's no disrespect to Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes, he had a lot of playoff success with the San Francisco 49ers, but those teams that he was on were a complete unit. Jimmy Garoppolo has some good moments, but a lot of bad moments as well. I believe Aiden O'Connell has higher upside with this team. That's why Antonio Pierce, who was the interim head coach at the time, went and they're going to say, hey, let's go out there with Aiden O'Connell for the rest of the season. And Antonio Pierce coached his team up so well on the back half of the season. They went 5-4 underneath him. He's going to be the head coach for the foreseeable future with this team. They need to figure out the offensive coordinator spot as well, because Cliff Kingsbury was supposed to be the offensive coordinator with this team. They could not come down to the financial agreement. He was no longer up to be the offensive coordinator with this team. There's a lot of chatter around Eric Bieniemy. We will see. But I like what the Las Vegas Raiders have on the offensive side of the ball. Michael Mayer, I think, can be a very good tight end with this team. He's a tight end they got out of Notre Dame. He was a rookie this season. You have Devontae Adams, who is still one of the best wide receivers in the game. You can keep him around or you can move on from him. I'm in that conversation. If you're going to completely rebuild this team, move off from him. But if you want to be a contender in this division, hold on to Devontae Adams. 103 catches, 1,144 receiving yards, and 8 receiving touchdowns. And I know in the back half of the season, he was frustrated because usually Devontae Adams is in that conversation with 1,300 to 1,400 yards in the season. And they were not able to find him on the field as much on the back half of the season with Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell is a rookie quarterback, and he's a guy that did not get the first team reps. If you go back into the offseason, that was all Jimmy Garoppolo, because Josh McDaniels was just hard pressed that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be the next franchise quarterback with this team. And that wasn't the case. Jimmy Garoppolo needs to be going the same way that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler are going as well. They need to head into a new direction. Either you want to keep Aiden O'Connell, but you still bring in a quarterback through free agency, a veteran quarterback, or try to draft a quarterback as well. The thing is, this team performs so well in the back half of the season, you don't have a top 5 draft pick to go up there and get a guy like a Caleb Williams, a Drake May, or a Jaden Daniels. I think that Jaden Daniels would be an amazing quarterback with this team because of the weapons that they have on the offensive end, but it's going to be easier said than done to move up in the NFL draft. We hear these stories every single year about a team that desperately needs a quarterback. When it comes around draft time, there's a lot of rumor reports that come out and say, hey, this team can move up, but the asking price may be ridiculous to where you have to move up and give away a first round or 2 first round picks. And some teams are not willing to do that, especially on the quarterback that they're not that high on. But this is an organization that is high on Aiden O'Connell, so they may want to bring him back next season. I'm going to let you guys discuss that in the comment section below. I think Aiden O'Connell had a lot of good moments this season. He had the 4 touchdown game passing against the Los Angeles Chargers, even though the Chargers were a terrible football team at the time. But he also had 2 passing touchdowns against the Indianapolis Colts on December 31st. And then the last game against the Denver Broncos, 244 passing yards for 2 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And he did have 3 interceptions against the Miami Dolphins in one game. But besides that, he had a lot of good moments. He looked like a typical rookie. And I know what happened against the Kansas City Chiefs on that Christmas Day game. He did not complete a single pass in the second half. The defense went out there, they did their thing, and they ran the football with Zamir White. And that's going to be a very interesting thing as well with this team, because Josh Jacobs is up for a contract extension. This is a guy that they put the franchise tag on. Just last season, he led the league in rushing. This season, not as much. This team was 30th in rushing offense, and it wasn't all on Josh Jacobs. The offensive line did let him down at certain points in times, but you're not going to go out there and give a running back a big-time contract that was averaging 3.5 yards to carry for 6 rushing touchdowns for only 805 rushing yards. They can move off of Josh Jacobs, get a running back in the NFL draft, bring back Zamir White, and just go with it like that. Josh Jacobs is a very talented running back. Is the reason why he was a first-round pick a couple years ago with this team. But you do not want to just go out there and just pay a running back a lot of money just because. Running backs are easy to replace in the NFL, and it depends on the role that you're filling with the team. Josh Jacobs does not have the same skill set as a guy like a Christian McCaffrey or a guy like an Alvin Kamara. So you can move off of Josh Jacobs to save some money because you have to go out there and pay some other guys very soon with this team. You have other weapons on this offense like Jacoby Myers, who was a Josh McDaniels guy, but he's still a very good wide receiver even without Josh McDaniels. 807 receiving yards on the season, 8 receiving touchdowns. Hunter Renfrow is also a guy that they may move off of after this season. Only 255 receiving yards. A couple of years ago, he had over 1,000 yards receiving, and he was key in the slot. And I understand that he doesn't get those same opportunities that he was getting a couple years ago. When Josh McDaniels came over, his role completely got cut away from the team. Injuries did play a huge part of that, but Hunter Renfrow, in my opinion, can still be a very talented wide receiver in the NFL, just not with this Raiders team right now, because you have 2 very good guys on the outside and on the inside as well with Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. And then you have Michael Mayer as well at the tight end spot. It may be time to phase out Hunter Renfrow. I know a lot of fans love him. Let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about Hunter Renfrow? The offensive line could use some work, but it's a very solid offensive line. And you look at the defense. The defense is very good. They were 12th in passing defense. Their rushing defense does need some work. They were 22nd in rushing defense, but you have some very good linebackers in my opinion, especially Robert Spillane. Robert Spillane was a very good linebacker this season with this team. He played out of his mind with this team. 82 solo tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 3 interceptions. And the secondary with this team was very solid as well. Like I mentioned before, being 12th in passing defense, that's nothing to scoff at. Nate Hobbs was a true number 1 corner with this team. I like Trayvon Mourning as well at that free safety position. Amik Robertson is a solid cornerback with this team. They could find a better cornerback with this team, but he had a lot of good moments. Not a bad corner, but not an elite corner either. He's just okay in certain points and times throughout the season. And I look at their pass rush. As long as you have Max Crosby, you're going to be in a great situation. 14.5 sacks on the season, 2 forced fumbles. They did select Tyree Wilson in the first round. He's a project type of player. Only 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble. For the first half of the season, he looked like a complete bust. Then he started to get some things going into his way. You have to be patient with these type of players because they're projects. They're athletic freaks. They don't have the technique just yet to swim around and to power around some of these offensive linemen, especially against some of the bigger tackles in the NFL. There's a good chance that this kid could be a bust, but on the other side of it, it's a good chance this kid could be the next star pass rusher that teams are going to have a huge problem dealing with. I'm not going to write him off just yet because he was put into a bad situation. He was supposed to be a rotational snap guy with Chandler Jones, and we all know what happened with Chandler Jones. He had the mental episode off the field. Him and Antonio Brown are cracking a lot of jokes right now, but hopefully both of those guys are okay mentally, but you no longer have Chandler Jones. You cut him a couple weeks into the season. Then you put Tyree Wilson to his starting spot. He was not ready. This was a kid that was not ready to be put into that situation. So considering the things that he did on the field, I would take that. Malcolm Kuntz did have 8 sacks in the season, 3 forced fumbles. That's a very good pass rush to have alongside Max Crosby. They have desperately needed another pass rusher to come alongside him and be consistent. I think that you have that with Malcolm, and you have Tyree Wilson develop as well. Great situation with this team. So this is a Raiders team that has a lot of talent. I'm not saying that they're one quarterback piece away from going to the Super Bowl next season or making a deep playoff run. It's a tough division, and it's going to be a gauntlet in this division. The Denver Broncos are going to reload that team with what Sean Payton wants, and I do think the Raiders can go out there and they can compete against the Denver Broncos. Then you have the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, who have been running this division for the last 6 to 7 years. Then you also have the Los Angeles Chargers bringing in Harbaugh as well. See what he's going to be able to do with Justin Herbert. So this is a very tough division. The one thing that I will say, Antonio Pierce deserves a long-term plan with this team. I don't want to see him get fired after 2 to 3 years with this team if they can't figure out the quarterback spot. If next season's not pretty at the quarterback spot, you can't blame that on the head coach. And that's one thing ownership has done in the past. They've been very impatient with some of the coaches. They need consistency at that position. Just let Antonio Pierce get a good 3 to 4 years underneath this belt. If it doesn't work out, then you can move off from him. But I really do think he's the right head coach of this team. I really do. And I do think he's going to hire the right offensive coordinator. He's going to get the most out of these guys that he can. He's a tough, aggressive head coach, and he's getting the most out of these players right now. Look at what they did against the Los Angeles Chargers on that Thursday night game. And I understand the Los Angeles Chargers were beat up. They were banged up all over the field. But most teams are not able to go out there and put up 60 plus, even against some of the second strings in the NFL. They went out there with their heart and they played their butt off for this man. And it's not hard to believe that you can go out there and get the right quarterback with this team, or let Aiden O'Connell steer the ship. You can be in a great situation. They shouldn't go out there and overpay for Josh Jacobs. I would like to see him stick around, but Zamir White came in and gave this team a lot of good production against the Kansas City Chiefs and throughout the season. He averaged over 4 yards a carry. And that's huge. I understand he wasn't getting the same volume as Josh Jacobs, but that's a big question mark right now. Would you want to bring him back, or do you stick with Zamir White? But this team is definitely a quarterback away from masking a lot of problems with the offense and some of the defensive problems as well. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about the Las Vegas Raiders, and who do you want to see this team have at the quarterback position next season? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one, guys, stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for watching the video, guys. God bless. Peace.